Is it time for us to leave Florida? I paid $2,700 to live in a beach town, the Sarasota metropolitan area. $2,700 a month to live in a beach town, not to live in what looks like what's left over of a beach town after getting hit by two hurricanes in a row. But I can deal with the destruction aftermath of the hurricane. But I'll tell you what I can't deal with. It's the people, the way people become after a hurricane. See, after Hurricane Ian, I moved out of Fort Myers because I noticed that the people became angry, bitter, road ragey, aggressive, and almost violent. See, one of the things that happens after a hurricane is an increase in crime rate and road rage and just anger in general. If you guys remember, in Fort Myers, even the sheriff had to make a press conference talking about post hurricane road rage. People are so angry after the hurricane that it actually turns into actual violence on the streets. And I don't hope Sarasota becomes that, but that's exactly what it's starting to look on the streets of Sarasota, and it doesn't go away. See, the aftermath of a hurricane on the news may be a week or two, but for the people that are living in these conditions, it can take years for them to regain their life, and many of them never actually will regain the life they had before the hurricane, which means that they remain bitter and angry about what they had because they can't see what's in front of them still, namely the fact that they're still alive. They can't appreciate what they have now because they're reminiscing about the life they had before the hurricane. No more beaches, no more fancy restaurants, no more beach vibes, just a reminder daily of the destruction. And that turns people angry and bitter. And that is something that I don't want to be around. A lot of people don't really know that happiness doesn't derive from the physical possessions you have, but the person you are. And sometimes it takes losing everything that you own physically to understand that what really matters isn't the material possessions, but you can find happiness even when you have less or even when you have nothing. But for some people, their material possessions was their ego, their entitlement, everything, their sense of power, their sense of being, their sense of belonging was derived from their properties, from their physical possessions, made them feel like they're better. But in one single moment, all that disappeared, and what was left is nothing more than destruction. A while back, I was in a hurricane aftermath scenario, and I had a person approach me and just start venting anger. And I just kind of sat there and let this person vent all their anger and frustration. And then I finally asked them, "Are you done?" And they said, "Yeah, I am." And I feel much better now. But unfortunately, people don't have that reaction typically. See, they continue to spill their hate on the society because their lives have been completely ruined. If you're one of those people that has lost everything that you have materially, without a doubt, you're going to have a very difficult time span trying to cope with losing everything you've worked for. However, those of us who haven't lost the things we have yet, don't think that you're too far from losing it. Don't think that you can't wake up tomorrow with absolutely nothing. And then when you wake up tomorrow with no possessions, you are still the same person you were with those possessions. See, the person you are isn't made by what you have. And that is a misunderstanding that a lot of people have. And while many people never really come to coping, the realization of understanding that the person that they are, the being that they are, their existence isn't the things that they own. And many times, while I hate for bad things to happen to people, a lot of people really do need to be humbled. They really do need to understand that just because you have a house on the beach doesn't make you better than somebody else. Just because you have a house paid off doesn't mean that tomorrow your assets could become a liability. I used to be that person who thought that because I had a house paid off and cars paid off, that I was just better than everybody else. And you know what? I lost everything. And I had to start off with debt. I don't own a house anymore. I have to pay a rent, a very expensive rent. I don't own this vehicle anymore. I have a car payment. But you know what? It feels good to know that I can reinvent myself from nothing and nothing can stop me. Even the fact that I got hurt and found myself in a walker and was able to hold on to everything through that process And now we're working on goals again. See, the thing is that your life isn't exactly what you had. And just because everything you had is destroyed doesn't mean that you can't reinvent yourself better in the future. But even if you can't reinvent yourself, it doesn't matter. I've really come to love the Sarasota and Bradenton area because the people here have really been great to me, and I've been able to prosper a lot in this area. Even though when I left Fort Myers, I lost almost everything I had, from bad business decisions to bad timing. A lot of things worked against me, and we lost everything we had. We went from having a positive net worth of over $200,000 to having $70,000 to $100,000 in debt and another $100,000 in debt in medical bills. All that over a year, I went from having $200,000 positive to probably being $200,000 negative net worth. Now, did that break me or destroy me? Absolutely not. I'm happier today than I was when I was in Fort Myers. And I understand that material things come and go, and that your happiness doesn't come from the things you have, but from just being able to make the best of your day-to-day circumstances. And sometimes during those hard times, you learn lessons that are so valuable that they make up for the things you lost physically. See, I know a little bit about these places we're driving through because on my spare time on the weekends, I Uber drive right here in Siesta Key. I love working Siesta Key. The people are fun and they're very generous and they tip very well. Whether it's the locals, and I've met quite a few of them, some of them very wealthy individuals, as well as some of the people who literally come here just to rent a vacation rental. They are also very great people. They pay good tips, and I enjoy working with them. See, let me explain something about the people that live, work, and vacation here on Siesta Key. Are some of the most fun, kind people you're ever going to meet. I live quite a bit from Siesta Key, but every night when I Uber drive, I try to get out here if I'm able to because the customers are the best. Whether it's the residents or the people that are vacationing here, it just is a fun place to go. I know the tips are going to be good, and I know people are having a great time, and that's what makes this place, Siesta Key, so different than anywhere else. This is a place where the residents and the people vacationing are having an incredible time. Now, Uber driving in the evenings isn't exactly a cash cow. It's just a little hobby that I do. But doing that here in Siesta Key, it's always fun, especially during the weekends. It's a place where people have made a lot of memories and people have a great time. But that aspect is going to disappear for a very long time. Sure, people can start to clean up and rebuild their houses, but the beaches, the nightlife, the partying, and the fun Uber passengers, those things are going to be gone for a while. What's going to happen here is the noise of construction equipment, rebuilding, and many people are even afraid to rebuild because after all, by the time you finish rebuilding, you're getting hit with another one. I've met people here on Siesta Key who are multi-millionaires. They own several properties. So if you're not familiar with Siesta Key, most of these houses are not primary homes. People that have a house here will have a house in San Diego, they'll have a house in San Francisco, another one in New York. They'll have several houses in several cities throughout the country. So a lot of these people are very wealthy individuals. These are not their primary homes. Very few of these homes are primary. The vast majority of these people are going to have several houses throughout the whole country. They're very wealthy people. Yet despite that, some of these very wealthy people that live here on this island are some of the most genuine, kind, and down-to-earth people that I've met while Uber driving. I've met people who I'm picking up in trashy apartment complexes, and they're entitled, and they're snobby. But you can pick up people here that are wealthy, and they're some of the noblest people you're ever going to meet in your entire life. It's not fair that this is happening to this place because this is a place of fun, life, and activity. I recently made a video last year, within like the last 6 months, of the top 10 best places to vacation in Florida, and I named Sarasota number 1. Siesta Key is known as the best beach in the United States. Unfortunately, for the next year, that's not going to be the case. It's going to be a very difficult scenario. Now, I have to admit, that destruction brings a lot of profit to my YouTube channel. The state of Florida is a very conflictive, changing, angry state, and there's a lot of money for somebody like myself, a YouTuber, who covers topics like homelessness and destruction. All those are pretty good cash cows for my YouTube channel. Very profitable endeavor. So I actually do make a lot of money from this type of chaos. However, I would rather make less money doing fun things than making a crap load of money being stuck seeing stuff like this back to back, day to day. Because at the end of the day, for me, life isn't about the dollar, it's about the life. And it's difficult when you go out there in scenarios like this every single day. It just burns you out. As you guys know, me and my wife have been talking about and considering leaving Florida, but we can't. Our parents all live in Southwest Florida, and whether we like it or not, we have created an incredible following down here. And some of the people that we have met and that follow our channel down here mean so much to us, as well as much as our family, to be honest with you guys, that we can't. Now, we've created and lost many audiences. We first started off with Naples, Florida. I went on rants, and that's kind of what started our YouTube channel. Then I moved to Alabama, and I hated the audience. Back then, you were actually able to block people and completely from your channel. You can't do that anymore on YouTube. But at that time, I actually went in and I blocked everybody who I thought was from Alabama, because I hated these people so much because of how they treated me. It wasn't useless. It wasn't a prejudice. These people in Alabama were that hurtful to me. At the time, I didn't even want people from Alabama to follow my channel. I wish they would just all unsubscribe. I even went as far as trying to reach out to YouTube and asking them if I could have the state of Alabama geographically be exempt from my YouTube channel so that people in Alabama couldn't watch my videos. That's how disappointed I was with the audience in Alabama. I felt like they were just hating and watching to see if something bad would happen to me. It really didn't feel genuine. I went to Fort Myers and I created a pretty good audience in Fort Myers. After Hurricane Ian, though, however, things really started to get sour in Fort Myers. And while the following from Fort Myers was great, I still have a lot of the Fort Myers following, and I go back to Fort Myers and cover that area very well when I'm able to. I got a lot of family down there. We're always back in Fort Myers, to be honest. That was a good thing. But now, what I have here in Sarasota and Bradenton is an audience that I feel so thankful. Today, while doing my videos, I've been recognized as much as 10 times in one single day. It's like everywhere I go, people recognize me, and I love it. And it's not the love of the fame or whatever, the crap, because at the end of the day, I'm an approachable person. I try to remain approachable, and I want to always be the person that can be out in public without having it be a problem. The love that I get out here in general from Sarasota and Bradenton is an audience that I've generated that I don't want to lose. And while it was difficult to break up with Naples and it was horrendous to deal with Alabama, Fort Myers, I built it up and it was fun. This audience that I have here is just a completely different audience. I feel like I don't even deserve it. And, you know, in the time that we've been up here, my wife Katie got her real estate license. That was a huge achievement. Now, you guys know the interest rates got all the way up to 7%. Who on earth could sell a house right now? It's difficult. It wasn't worth it. And she achieved it, though. You can't take that away from her. Como dice el cuento, nadie te quita lo bailado. She got it. She achieved it. And if she wants to do it again, she knows it's obtainable. She just has to renew her license, do a few more tests, and she can get her license back. But why do we need to be neeps selling houses? Dude, we have an incredible YouTube channel that we've built here. The channel has reached levels that when I lived in Naples and I left Naples to Alabama, if I had known how much my channel would be making right now, I wouldn't believe it. It's just been an incredible thing for us, and not only for us, for all the people we've been able to help through our YouTube channel, from our audience to the income that we make helps us help people, and it makes me happy to help other people. It's been an incredible experience, and there's still a long trajectory to go. The audience here has been incredible, and there could be an audience waiting for me in San Diego, California, maybe on the Pacific Northwest, or somewhere in Texas, or maybe New York City. There could be another incredible audience somewhere else waiting to adopt us that could be bigger than ours. It's never good to just limit yourself, but I don't want to break up with this audience. And it's just been that great of an experience here. I moved here for the beaches. I bought an apartment in a nice suburban area, and we spent a lot of time on the beaches. I moved here for the beaches. The beaches are gone. This is going to take a long time to recover. But I'm staying because of the people. The audience reception here has been so phenomenal that even if this town was completely in ruins like it is now, we have just an important role in the community now. The reception is so incredible. The love is so huge that even if our town is completely destroyed like it is now, I would still stay here because what we have here is something special that we worked for, we obtained, and I almost feel like I don't even deserve it. Now, every single person that I meet isn't a subscriber. In fact, almost on a daily basis when I'm out working like this, I run into people who absolutely hate what I'm doing, and those people mean nothing to me. They're 1 in 20. If it was a quarter or half of the people that I ran into, we would have a problem. But they're 1 in 20 people that I run into are just like that. They don't like what I'm doing. They have a problem with what I'm doing. And you know what? I'm not breaking any laws, so have a nice day. You know, I've had to tell people today, have a nice day several times, and yesterday as well. There's just some individuals who don't want you to do what you're doing, and I could give two craps. You don't pay my bills, you know? And honestly, it doesn't matter to me. It really doesn't. And those people are haters no matter what, so it doesn't matter to me. The vast majority of the reception that I get here has just been so incredible, and it's so fun to work for this audience. There's been some type of connection that I can't even explain, and there's been haters that get in the way and try to stop that, but it just hasn't been successful. It's been incredible, and you know, I feel like I Uber drive late at night in the worst neighborhoods here, and every once in a while you have a horrible experience Uber driving. But like in the time I've been here, in these almost 2.5 years that I've been in the Sarasota, Branson area, I can't say there's been one day where I was like, wow, that was a horrible day. I had days that were difficult, especially related to the fact that, you know, I got hurt, but I'm walking again, it hurts and all that, but I'm moving again, I'm able to get out there again. And yes, it hurts at night, yes, it hurts in the morning, but, you know, I'm able to do things again to some degree. Am I going to be the same physical, able-bodied man I was before I got hurt? No, but it's not an impediment to my psychology anymore. I can still do things. At some point, it restricts me, but it doesn't stop me. And I'm glad that this horrific experience taught me a lot as well, you know? And you just got to learn from the bad situations. In this area here, I don't know what's going to happen with the real estate values. A lot of people think that hurricanes drop hurricane values. You know, everybody wants to move because it's destroyed, but that's not always the case. See, hurricanes are actually sometimes do the complete opposite. Supply and demand. There's less supply and there's more demand. Hurricanes are a very good come up. A lot of poor people don't realize that this is the come up of a lifetime. Pressure washing, junk removal, any service right now, hauling. You have no idea. The opportunities right now are boundless for the locals. I'm gonna tell you straight up. You can look at the views on my YouTube channel. It's a come up for my channel. And we were already up. It's an up, you know? So there are come ups right now. Construction, painting, endless possibilities right now. Endless come ups for the poor people. You know, you just have to know how to take advantage of this situation. And there's nothing wrong with you making a come up during a hurricane. Every single negative reaction for one person has a positive reaction for another. If you die, the morticianer makes money. If you break a leg, the doctor makes money. And if you're doing anything else, a lawyer makes money. You see that sign right there? It says Restore Midnight Pass. The hurricane actually reopened Midnight Pass. I don't know if it stayed open, but sometimes there are kind of little good things that come from these events, like the reopen Midnight Pass. There are people trying to get the government to reopen Midnight Pass. The hurricane reopened Midnight Pass. I don't know if it stayed open or not, but the point being is that there are little treats within these situations, and there's nothing wrong with taking advantage of them. Like I said, my wife Katie became a realtor up here. That was an incredible goal for her. She reached it. She did it. I got my GED. As you guys know, I had been kicked out of high school in Naples, Florida. Didn't have my GED. I obtained my GED here in Bradenton, Florida, something that had been held from me for so many years, and it was emotional. If you know my come up story, my whole life, I got kicked out of school. My mother was sick from cancer. I was working and going to school at the same time. I was just trying to do it. I went back 3 times to the ninth grade. I wasn't trying not to do it. It was just things were difficult. And for me to have that GED, and I felt like the teachers were really unfair and bad, and they did this to me on purpose. It was really an injustice at the time. I regained that here in Bradenton Technical College, Manatee Technical College. I got my GED. My wife got her real estate license. My YouTube channel kicked off. My credit score had always been garbage, and now it's great. We got a truck, we got an apartment, all that through my credit score. So you can find through hardship and difficulty good things that come from it. The problem is that when you attach all your emotion, all your value as a human being to the physical possessions that you have, you're setting yourself up for failure, because that is a illusion of happiness. See, a lot of people could be married for 20, 30, 3,000 years in a mansion, but the day that they hit the streets, they're never going to have that. You guys watch my homeless interviews that I do when I meet couples that have been 6, 4, 5, 10 years together on the streets. Their safety's compromised. They're hungry. They're unclothed. They're unsheltered. They're hungry. And through all those hardships, these people are able to hold on to a relationship. And I tell them when I meet people, and they might be junkied out people, they might be just gone. But I tell them, even in your condition that you are right now, you've been able to hold on to a relationship for this many years on the streets, homeless, lacking food, lacking shelter, lacking air conditioner. These people in these mansions, I guarantee you at least 10 people on Siesta Key are going to get a divorce because of this hurricane. I guarantee you, mark my words, 10 people on this island are getting a divorce because of this hurricane. Here they are in this beautiful paradise island, and they could be the happiest people on earth as long as everything is going well. The moment one thing messes up, they didn't have what mattered the most. They might have had the physical possessions, but there was something of greater value that they didn't have, that somebody homeless on the streets, a drug addict on the street, could have a spark that these people don't. I actually had somebody tell me that when I was broken and had lost everything. I had somebody who told me, the person you are cannot be attached to the things you have. And it hurt to hear that. It really did. And I don't know if this person did that to me as a genuine motive, or if this person was trying to be malignant, because sometimes you might think somebody's malignant and they could actually be doing things to help you, and indirectly, hard to tell, or maybe it's just, I can't explain it. But sometimes people will tell you something that you think is for your harm, but in reality is for your good. In other words, sometimes the things that are good for you are hard to hear. In the case of, being attached to material possessions, losing the things you have, sometimes it is actually good for you not to have these things, because what I've realized is if I had a house paid off right now, my YouTube channel would never be what it is today. My channel is what it is today because the hardships that I faced. If I was comfortable having a house and cars paid off, I would have never had to work this hard for my YouTube channel. I would have just settled for having the things I had, and I would have had a mediocre YouTube channel. But the fact that all my businesses failed, Katie's license didn't, we got her real estate license, but we weren't able to sell houses. Remember I lived in Fort Myers, I bought a truck and trailer and equipment to do a junk removal, and it failed. All my business, moving to Alabama failed. Moving to Fort Myers and Lehigh failed because the business didn't take off. Move over here, and then I got hurt. Over here, and now I'm down to my last $5, and then I get hurt and end up crippled. Luckily, it wasn't permanent, right? I had lost everything. Now I can't even walk anymore. I need a walker to walk now. But you know what? That walker kept me off the road. And maybe if I was on the road, something would have happened to us that was worse. But because I wasn't able to travel, I started interviewing homeless people on the streets, and that became bigger than the travel. And now, between the hurricanes and the homeless people, I'm doing more on YouTube than I did before with the travel. And I don't have to be on the road. I can sleep in my bed every night. And I'm able to have a real life impact in front of me that I can see of people in my community. So, sometimes when something bad happens to you, it could lead to greater things. It isn't going to lead to greater things for everybody because they're looking for a material profit. See, when I started interviewing the homeless people, I wasn't doing it for money. I was doing it because I had to come up with something else. Couldn't travel anymore. Travels were great, man. I'm getting paid to travel America. What could be greater than that? Well, there is something greater than that, and it's the impact that my videos are having in the community. The fact that I can talk to these people that have been marginalized by society, give them self-worth again, give them confidence, give them compliments, and help them to acknowledge what's destroying their lives so they can rebuild their lives. And you know what? I've learned from the homeless people so many things that have helped me become a better person as well. A lot of it's bad things that I've learned, okay, don't do this. But other things are like, well, you know what? Struggling through hardships, perseverance, dedication, believe it or not, self-respect. There's people on the streets and I'll offer them money when I don't do that anymore because I know you can overdose somebody. When I was first starting, I'd offer people money and they'd be like, no, I don't care. They're not, they don't sell out, they don't compromise their integrity, even though they're on the street. It's a beautiful thing to know that. There's a lot of beautiful things that you can learn from people who have almost nothing. All these are beautiful things that you can learn, and the experience has been so overwhelmingly more valuable than the material things. You can lose everything materially, even have hardships like health complications, and you can still find something that is going to make you victorious after all the hardships because now you're doing something greater. You're helping more people. And, I've always had life encounters that have been very close, difficult, scary situations. And one thing that I've learned with all these difficult circumstances is, you know what? If something were to happen to me today, would I have changed anything? And that's a crazy way to live. But, experiences in Alabama, experiences throughout my whole life have taught me that, if today was the last day, would I be happy with what I did today? Did I make the most impact on other people? If I held back from giving a homeless person a bottle of water or a potato chips that were in the back seat or a banana or a piece of bread, would I look back on that and say, man, I was going to have to throw it out anyways? Man, you know what? If today had been the last day, why would it have even mattered that I held back from doing good to other people? It wouldn't. Because after all, life itself isn't guaranteed. And these life lessons that I've learned, these close calls that I've had, particularly those in Alabama, have taught me that you can't be afraid of risk. See, me and Katie were very fortunate and cursed at the same time because we at a young age had a property paid off. We and Katie had a property paid off in our 20s, something that a lot of people are not going to accomplish in their 20s. We had a house paid off in Naples in our 20s, but that would have kept us there until we were elderly. It would have been a rock tied to our foot, anchoring us down to simply one place. And I have seen 37 different states. I've met hundreds of people that I've interviewed for my YouTube channel. I have met hundreds others that I didn't interview, been to all these places, met all these people, had all these experiences. I wouldn't trade all that for the property that I had in Naples that was paid off. And sometimes it's the realization that those material things that we hold on to could actually be, more than anything, holding us back from something greater. Perhaps the people that are here in Siesta Key and their whole lives were ruined, the few people that are actually full-time residents, they might think that Siesta Key is their little paradise. But maybe there's something better out there for them. It may not be material, it may not be the beach, It could be a relationship. It could be a purpose, a goal, something that they wanted to do with their lives, but they were too afraid to do it. And now they don't have any other choice but to go out there and do it. For many of the people that are losing their jobs due to tourism, perhaps you needed to lose that job. Perhaps there's something better for you. Now, life can give you a hard test, a challenge. But just because you have something horrible tossed at you doesn't mean that the overall outcome is going to be bad. You know why? Because now it opens up new doors, new possibilities. And some of those doors and possibilities could be better than your current situation, whether you believe it or not. It's whether you're going to go look for that opportunity, you're going to fight for it, or you're just going to lament the things you've lost. But there could be a better opportunity out there for you, for many other people. They just haven't discovered it yet. Discover what your new thing is going to be. And it may not be a place you want to end up. Some of these people are going to go from living in a house to being homeless on the streets. And some of these people in that situation could be you watching today's video. You can find yourself living in a tent in the woods or something, hiding from the cops. Maybe within that nightmare situation. And this is something that's very true. I've interviewed people that are homeless, and they'll tell you that they feel that their accomplishments on the streets have been more significant than their accomplishments when they had material things. And that sounds kind of an idea you may not want to hear, but it's true. A lot of the homeless people have actually accomplished more on the streets than they have, when they pass away on the streets one day. They're leaving behind a legacy. Like, I've seen not 1, 2, 3. I've seen people that are on the streets that when they're gone, all the other homeless people remember them for their kindness, their generosity. Look, that guy that was hit by a bus in Bradenton, I never met him, okay? But that guy was a legend. There's other homeless people that have been out here and they've been legends on the streets. These are people that to this day, people graffiti out bridges. There's one person here in Onico. I never met the person, but they do graffiti, and it's kind of like some of these like neighborhood rappers. Even it's like, unfortunately, I have to say this, but neighborhood rappers, they were nobody, but then they're still remembered years later, and people wear T-shirts with their name. I don't know how to explain it. Sometimes even being a homeless person, your impact could be so much greater upon other people that even though you went through some challenges and hardships, society made a benefit from you being in that circumstance. I've met homeless people who tell me I've saved 7 people's lives out here. A lot of the homeless people tell me, my life before, I had material things, cars, jobs, this and that, but I wasn't doing anything for society. Now that I'm homeless, in fact, a lot of homeless people tell me when I had stuff, I was a scumbag. I was stealing, I was defrauding, I was scheming. I felt like my job was to take from other people and unjustly. They work for somebody else. The boss is pressuring you to do certain things you don't want to do. Many people tell me that their jobs, their clandestine jobs, were just pathetic, miserable existences because they didn't feel that their jobs were honorable. They almost felt like their jobs were dishonest gain. And on the streets, they've saved people's lives. So maybe now on the streets, they actually have found more meaning to their life than when they were living a normal life. So good things can come from difficult circumstances if you're able to bear through it, fight through it, and find a purpose in your new setting. I'm not encouraging you to get on the streets. I'm not encouraging you to throw your life away because you could save somebody. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there are silver linings to things. There are good things that come from the bad. And each one of us is going to have to make the best from whatever their bad situation is. If you're going to become bitter and angry at the world and you're going to vent frustration at the world, then that's what you're going to reap. Nobody's going to like you. You're not going to be a desirable person. But if you decide to help other people and just try to make the best you can of your horrible circumstances that you have now, there could be something good for it. It doesn't matter. You're taking this loss regardless. You can't go back in time to when this was a beautiful, perfect island. We can rebuild an island. We can clean up the garbage. We can sort out the garbage. we can clean up our property. We can little by little plant new trees that will grow and one day be big and give us all shade. It's not going to happen overnight. But if we did nothing, then eventually the weeds will go through the garbage and you won't even be able to mow the lawn. So we have the option to rebuild and be better, and that's it. We all have the option to make the best out of this bad circumstance. And that's what we should probably do. Remember I told you guys I like to Uber drive here in Siesta Key? Well, I always hated working on Fort Myers Beach way before the hurricane. I didn't feel any sympathy for Fort Myers Beach. And I was open about it on my YouTube channel. I said, hey, I don't feel crap for these people. I don't like them. I really felt nothing for the people at Fort Myers Beach. And Fort Myers Beach is where I would go once in a while to have fun. It was a beach I enjoyed, fishing on the piers and bridges and this and that. Didn't enjoy the people. Worked for them. There was a few customers here and there that were great, but the vast majority of these people, I felt nothing for them. I had one customer in Fort Myers Beach that every time I worked for him gave me an extra $100. But that was just a rare exception, It wasn't everybody there. I recently went back to Fort Myers Beach and I did some Uber driving there. And the person that I got was probably the worst Uber passenger, my least favorite Uber passenger. I've had problems with Uber passengers that I can't even tell you. It's just nightmare stories. But personality-wise, this passenger was just the only reason I didn't kick this guy out of the ride is because I felt like if I kicked him out, I would be stooping down to his level. And I really had to grab my pride and put it away. I had to put away my pride to save my integrity, basically. And that I wasn't going to stoop down to his level, that I was going to be a greater person than him by not kicking him out. I don't want to harvest a vengeful heart. And I felt like if I kicked him out, it would have been an act of vengeance on my part. And an act of integrity to me is worth more than an act of vengeance. There are times when you just kick people out. I do it all the time. Say, hey, your time is up. You're walking now. But in dealing with this passenger from Fort Myers Beach, place that got destroyed just like this, even worse, it didn't come down to kicking him out because I felt like if I kicked him out, it would have been an act of vengeance and retaliation for the way people in Fort Myers Beach had treated me, and that's exactly what he was doing. I couldn't do it. It was a weird thing. It wasn't about just day-to-day conflict with an individual. It was just, I'm taking vengeance if I kick this person out, and I don't want to be a vengeful person. I'm a greater person than him by walking away, and it took putting my pride away to do that. It really took putting away my pride, but that's the way I decided to deal with this passenger. But I noticed something about that passenger and some of the other people that were, there in the background that day, and it was the following, that 2 years have passed since Hurricane Ian. These people have already rebuilt their houses, and they're still bitter. They were bitter before the hurricane. They were definitely bitter during it. And now that this whole thing is gone, they rebuilt their houses, they are still that same bitter person. If you were happy before the hurricane and now you find yourself angry, short-tempered, that's not going to go away. It's not because you lost power. That is your new personality. Don't let that become your new personality because it will be who you become. No, while living in Alabama, that 1 year in Alabama, not even I liked the person that I became in Alabama because I became molded by my environment, the people around me. I didn't even like the person I had become after Alabama. I had to reshape the person I was because I realized, man, this is not who I am. And that's why I blew through the money I had. We came back with like $100,000. We bought ATVs, we bought trucks, sound systems, rims. I traveled. I just blew $100,000 because I knew that I had to break apart and become something new. I couldn't continue being what I was. I had to reshape myself and make something better. And that's why when I went to that passenger in Fort Myers Beach, who I had to live up. Look at that hawk, man. Just randomly a hawk there. I couldn't do an act of vengeance. I had to hold away my pride and not kick this guy out of the ride despite his obnoxious and disrespectful behavior, which would have got anybody else a walk home. But for me, because he was from Fort Myers Beach and I had so many bad experiences there, it came down to an act of vengeance. And I didn't want to do an act of vengeance because that was the horrible person that I became in Alabama that I have been trying so hard to distance myself from. In other words, as individuals, we can go through a bad experience, and that bad experience can turn us into a monster that is not who we are. But you have to find that problem, identify the problem, and say, okay, I'm going to work this out of my personality. In the case of me, great example would be working out the vengeance issue, the anger, and all that stuff that I dealt with in Alabama. I realized I couldn't continue living like that. And it requires that with specific it doesn't mean I have to let people walk over me or I have to be a victim for the rest of my life. That's not what it means. But what it means to me is that in a case like this individual, he's from Fort Myers Beach, I have a resentment against those people for whatever they did to me. I can't do an act of vengeance. That's something I have to work out of my system. And to this day, there's room for improvement. And that's the goal. The goal is room for improvement. Changing those bad characteristics takes time. You have to work that out of your personality. And for the people that are becoming angry and bitter because of the situations we're facing here right now in Sarasota, you have to start working. Because if you start to feed that negativity, you start to feed that, man, you're going to become a nasty person. Even you are going to look at yourself and say, I can't believe this is who I am. So all I'm trying to tell people is it's a stressful situation, but don't let it mold who you are. Don't let it change who you are. And yes, I do want to leave Florida. We're really wanting to change the environment, but the audience here is too good. I love it too much, and I don't think it's going to happen. Our parents are here, and no matter how crazy Florida gets, if it wasn't for my family and it wasn't for my audience, I wouldn't be here. And again, it's not about how much money you make and that I want to live by a beach. I'm pretty sure the beaches are long gone and destroyed, and they're going to be like that for a while. But now it's to identify, okay, the beach is gone, but is there something here of more value? In my case, there is. There's an incredible audience, there's an incredible following, an incredible community impact, and that is valuable. It's very valuable. It's more valuable than all the material things because I was willing to sell the house without a second thought, but I don't think I can let you guys go. So, yes, I do want to leave Florida. Yes, it is stressful. Yes, it is a nightmare to live here, but there's so many good things that we're doing. We're having just a great community impact, and when you have a place where you fit in, if something's working, don't change it. And if you have a place where you belong, then you belong. When you don't belong somewhere, you'll know it. You'll want to leave. I don't want to leave. It's difficult, challenging, but we're making an incredible impact on the community.